So when I'm doing fried chicken, I try to pick up what's called a fryer chicken or a young chicken. It's just a younger bird and it's a little bit more tender. And then I break it down as you normally would, but when it comes to the breasts, I keep the ribs on, so I'll just cut straight through the backbone, and then I'll use a thick knife to cut through the keel or the center bone or the sternum of the bird. And then I'll come back around and I'll clean up any excess fat or any excess skin that's hanging off. Some people will break down the wing. I leave it as one big piece, but I think that just comes down to preference, really. So I got 2 drums, 2 thighs, 2 breasts, 2 wings. And then I'm gonna do a classic American buttermilk brine. So I'm gonna grab myself a bowl, and then I'm gonna throw all my chicken in there. And the buttermilk is actually going to tenderize the meat a little bit more. So if you're using a young chicken and then you do a buttermilk brine, you're gonna have chicken that melts in your mouth and it's super juicy. And you can season it however you want, but I'm just doing like pretty classic salt, white pepper, black pepper, cayenne, smoked paprika. The full recipe will be in the description, but I'm going to leave this in the brine for 12 hours or overnight. You can do only a couple hours if you're in a rush, but overnight is preferred. And then you want it to be fully submerged. If you noticed, I topped it off with more buttermilk. Everything's pretty normal so far, but I think the most important part of this whole recipe, if you want really, really crispy fried chicken, is this: potato starch. You can substitute cornstarch if you really want to, but potato starch is better and it handles high heat cooking a little bit better than cornstarch as well. And the ratio that I use is 50% starch to 50% all-purpose flour. That's going to give you kind of like the classic breading of American fried chicken and the super crispy exterior, kind of like a Korean fried chicken. And then I'll season the flour with the seasonings I put in the buttermilk brine with some extras. Again, the recipe will be in the description. And then I decided that this container was actually a little bit too big, so I swapped to a smaller one and just gave it a really, really good mix. And then before I start dredging the chicken, I'm going to show you guys my fryer setup. So I have a large pot with a thermometer filled up only about halfway because I don't want it to overflow. Hot oil is scary. And then I have a sheet tray with a rack. That's where I'm going to rest my chicken. I have a spider to pull everything out, and then a thermometer to probe the chicken as I go along. All right, now that that's set up, I'm going to start dredging my chicken. Now, I don't have gloves, so I'm going in raw. I wash my hands thoroughly, don't worry about it. But I throw the chicken in there, and then I give it a shake, and then just get right in there with your hands and force it into all the nooks and crannies. Make sure that everything sticks really well, and then I just let the chicken hang out in the dredge for a couple minutes, and it's gonna form like this nice barrier on the chicken, and then you give it one more shake, and then I'll start frying it. Any excess flour on the chicken is just gonna come off when it's frying, so don't even worry about it, but you got as much dredge on there as you possibly could. So when I start frying, I do the double fry method. So I'm gonna fry it once at a very low temperature, and then I'm gonna fry it again at a higher temperature, and I'll explain why later. But I'm gonna add my chicken, and then I'm gonna fry it for about 8 to 10 minutes, depending on how big it is. I'm gonna use my thermometer to check and see how far along it is, and I pull it when it's at 160 degrees Fahrenheit, and some of you might be screaming, oh, it needs to be 165. It will carry over as it rests, and then it's also gonna get fried again, so it'll reach that safe temperature. Don't you worry about it. And I'm gonna fry everything in batches, maybe 3 or 4 pieces at a time, pull it out, let it rest on that sheet tray, and you'll see here in a second the oil gets pretty gnarly. Okay, the chicken is hanging out, it's resting on this rack. Now, to explain why I fry it twice. After you cook the chicken, there's a lot of activity going on. There's juices leaking out, there's steam coming from the inside of the chicken to the outside of the chicken, and that's when your fried chicken would get soggy. Now, to get rid of that, you turn the oil up to a higher temperature, and then you fry it again, and that will get rid of the surface moisture, and it'll also reheat the chicken, but it'll make your chicken so crispy. So after about 10 minutes, I turn my oil up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I fry the chicken again, only for about 3 or 4 minutes, not that long. It's just to get rid of the surface moisture and to reheat it. Someone is leaf blowing in the back. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's really bothering me. You know, I feel like every time I film a voiceover, there's someone doing yard work. I don't. Anyways, back on track. Here's the end result, and I'll leave you with some ASMR really quickly. And if you want to eat it like that, you totally can. But where I think this really shines is if you want to completely drench it in a sauce and it'll still stay crispy. So this is like a pretty standard Korean fried chicken, gochujang sauce. But if you want to dunk it in hot sauce, slather it in gravy, whatever you want. But the point is it'll still stay really, really crispy. So once again, I'll leave you with some fried chicken ASMR sounds. And then after the second fry, it stays crispy for hours. So I actually just microwaved it at like midnight because I was hungry, and I'll just show you. So there you have it, folks. I'm out of focus. I'll take these out. That is my universal fried chicken dredge. It is a happy mishmash of Western and Eastern fried chicken. The all-purpose flour gives the kind of typical American breading that you would expect, and the potato starch gives it that ultra crisp. And the double fry method is top tier for fried chicken. Thank you for watching all the way until the end if you're still here. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up, it does help. And if you make this recipe, please let me know. But when in doubt, let's end the video.